The guns have gone quiet in a place where silence has been rare for more than a decade. In northern Syria, after years of uneasy alliances, broken promises and brutal fighting, a ceasefire has finally been declared between the Syrian government and the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces. This is not just another truce signed under pressure. It follows rapid government advances on the battlefield, the collapse of once symbolic Kurdish strongholds, and growing regional and international concern over the risk of a wider conflict. Areas that were self-ruled for years are now being folded back into state control as fighters who once challenged Damascus are asked to disarm, integrate, and fall in line. Is this the beginning of lasting peace or simply the next chapter in Syria's long and painful war? Let's connect the dots. On January 18th, the Syrian government announced an immediate nationwide ceasefire with the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces, taking almost full control of the country. The ceasefire is part of a broader 14-point agreement that will see the SDF integrated into Syria's military and state institutions. Syrian President Ahmed Al-Sharaa, who signed the deal alone in front of cameras in Damascus, urged Arab tribes to remain calm and allow gradual implementation of the agreement's provisions.
I recommend a complete ceasefire at this time, and I also urge our Arab tribes there to remain calm and peaceful and to allow for the gradual implementation of the agreement's provisions until we achieve complete peace in Syria.
The truce was announced after a meeting in Damascus between President Al-Sharaa and US Special Envoy to Syria, Tom Barrack. Barrack welcomed the deal, writing on X, "This agreement and ceasefire represent a pivotal inflection point where former adversaries embrace partnership over division." The Syrian Democratic Forces, or SDF, is a Kurdish-led coalition that established self-rule in northeastern Syria during the civil war, with support from the United States. This group played a key role in driving the Islamic State out of large parts of the region. This agreement comes at a time when tensions between government forces and the SDF escalated significantly earlier this month. Clashes intensified and the government subsequently launched a large-scale military operation in the eastern regions where most SDF fighters appeared to withdraw from the area. Now let's take a look at the key provisions of the deal. First, military integration. The SDF will be integrated into Syria's defense and interior ministries. Second, the territorial handover. The provinces of Raqqa and Deir or ez-Zor will be immediately transferred to full government control. This leaves the SDF with authority only in the northeastern province of Hasakah. Another one is resource control. Damascus will take over all border crossings as well as the nation's vital gas and oil fields, most of which were previously under militia control. Next, prisoner responsibility. The Syrian government will assume legal and security responsibility for over 8,000 Islamic State prisoners and the Al-Hol detention camp. The ceasefire follows a decisive military push by government forces that exploited the SDF's weakened state. The government captured the Euphrates Dam, a critical asset for the country's water and hydroelectricity supply. The loss of this infrastructure, along with the Al-Omar oil fields and strategic air bases, left the SDF with little leverage in negotiations. Earlier, as the ceasefire was announced, Syrian government troops entered the city of Maskana in Aleppo, and that marked a major milestone in the handover of power. Residents of Raqqa came out into the streets, waving flags, greeting soldiers, and sharing smiles that had been far too rare in a city long scarred by conflict.
Praise be to God. God has granted us relief and we're done with this gang that was suffocating us. Praise be to God. We're doing well by God's grace and we wish well for all parts of Syria, God willing.
A very good agreement. It stopped the spilling of blood, stopped the bloodshed, stopped the killings, and averted the sectarian strife that was on the verge of breaking out. We hope this agreement succeeds and that all parties abide by it.
This issue has been simmering since 1962, when a large number of Kurds were stripped of their Syrian citizenship. This led to widespread discontent among the Kurdish population, which has persisted ever since. But the Syrian government decided to grant them equal rights and recognize the Kurdish language as a national language.
I'm honored today to issue a special decree for our Kurdish people that guarantees their rights and some of their privacy in law. I call all of those who were forced to leave lands to return safe and peaceful unconditionally, but leaving their weapons.
Al-Sharaa's decree came after fierce clashes that broke out last week in the northern city of Aleppo, and in those clashes, 23 people were left dead. The decree also declares Spring and New Year festival Nowruz a paid national holiday. It bans ethnic or linguistic discrimination and sets penalties for incitement to ethnic strife. Supporters say the move has helped ease tensions and build trust, though many are watching closely to see how these promises are carried out in practice. This is not the first time that the government and the SDF have reached such a deal. An agreement was reached in March 2025 that would merge the SDF with Damascus, but it did not gain traction as both sides accused each other of violating the deal. But this time, the balance of power was very different. After significant battlefield losses, the Kurdish forces entered negotiations from a far weaker position and ultimately agreed to sign the deal. As the government moves to secure control over Syria's resource-rich east, the world is watching closely. The key question now is whether this deal brings lasting unity and stability, or whether deep ethnic and political tensions will lead to new conflict. Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni has been declared the winner of the country's presidential election. Museveni has been in power since 1986. So this election victory extends his 4 decades in power by another 5 years. But his closest challenger, Bobi Wine, claims that the election results are fake. He alleges electoral rigging and intimidation. So what exactly happened? What does a 7th straight term for 81-year-old Museveni mean for Uganda? What could be Bobi Wine's political future after losing 2 consecutive presidential bids? And who could lead Uganda after Museveni? Let's connect the dots. The general elections occurred on January 15, 2026 for electing the president and parliament. In the presidential election, the incumbent president Yoweri Museveni of the National Resistance Movement or NRM won 71.65% of the vote. That's quite close to his highest ever tally of 74% in Uganda's first direct presidential election in 1996. Bobi Wine got 24.72% of the votes cast. This was a massive blow for Wine as his share of the vote fell from 35% in 2021. There were 6 other candidates in the fray, but none of them got more than 2% of the vote. Voter turnout was 52.5%. So what more do we know about Yoweri Museveni? And who is Bobi Wine? Museveni was a rebel commander who seized power in 1986. This ended the rule of the Milton Obote regime. He continues to be in power since and is 81 years old. Bobi Wine is a charismatic former pop star. He is far younger as he is 43 years old. His real name is Robert Kyagulanyi. His political party is the main opposition party of Uganda. It is called National Unity Platform or NUP. Now let's listen to the voice of one Ugandan voter.
I would love to expect change. You understand? Not basing on the fact that we've had leadership for, I would say, 40 years, but basing on the fact that we are a new kind of breed. We are a new kind of generation that needs fresh brain. You understand? I'll tell you, my leader, who is the current president, to me he's a wonderful person, but I would really say we need someone new, we need someone fresh. He needs to guide the new person into leadership.
So why does Bobi Wine say that the election was neither credible nor legitimate? Wine alleges widespread electoral fraud. This includes ballot stuffing and fake tallies. He points to how biometric voter kits failed in opposition strongholds. This means that kits could not verify voter identities in opposition areas. Wine says his rallies faced tear gas, live rounds, arrests and beatings, unlike Museveni's events.
They've tear gassed us, including tear gassing the rallies, peacefully assembled rallies, and then they launched tear gas into the rallies. A lot of impunity has been ongoing, unfortunately, under the watch and conspicuous silence of the Electoral Commission.
The United Nations and Amnesty condemned such treatment of the opposition as repression. A nationwide internet blackout had crippled communication. NUP leaders like Bobi Wine say this hindered sharing of evidence of electoral fraud and mobilization of people against it. Wine says it hid cheating, but authorities claim it stopped misinformation. Remember, Wine had rejected the 2021 results too. Then too he had cited similar fraud. Wine alleges that the two constitutional amendments brought by Museveni's regime that removed term limits and age caps for presidential elections were a trick to control elections forever. When votes were being counted on January 16 and 17, Wine posted on X that police and army raided his Magere home in Kampala.
My wife and I have been under house arrest since the 15th of January when we had elections. And yesterday, our house was raided by some police officers together with a number of other unknown individuals in plain clothes. I was able to use my skills and escape my house. But I know they're looking for me. But even if they succeed and get me and do whatever, I want to say this to you, fellow Ugandans. First and foremost, we reject whatever is being declared by Mr. Byabakama, because those so-called results that they're declaring are fake and they don't in any way reflect what happened at the polling stations.
After the election, Wine called for street protests against alleged electoral fraud.
We want to call upon the people of Uganda to non-violently protest and reject any effort to subvert their voice and demand that the rightful results are announced.
Wine supporters clashed with police in Kampala and Butambala district. Police said machete-wielding opposition goons attacked polling and police stations and vote tallying centers. It said 7 people were killed when police fired live rounds in self-defense. NUP MP Mubanga Kivumbi countered that 10 of his campaign agents were killed in a security raid on his Butambala home. Riots spread and authorities reportedly used tear gas, live rounds and arrests to quell the unrest. After he was declared the winner of the country's disputed election, President Museveni issued this warning to opposition supporters.
I congratulate the people of Uganda. I ask the confused people to come back to sanity, because what they are planning, what they wanted to do, we already know, and we have already mobilized together with the people. Much of it, the residual should stop, because we know we shall get all of them if they don't stop.
So what do election observers say about the fairness of Uganda's 2026 vote? They give mixed assessments. Led by former Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan, African Union observers raised doubts. They cited internet blackouts, rights group suspensions, military overreach, opposition arrests or abductions, and media bias.
Uganda enjoys media pluralism. However, the mission received reports of biased media coverage, with opposition parties receiving minimum coverage from both state and private media. The mission acknowledges the reliance of media on internet in obtaining and disseminating information, despite previous assurances by the Uganda Communication Commission to continued internet availability throughout the electoral period. The mission noted with concern the shutdown of the internet now still on day 5. The action has affected citizens' right to receive information, increases freedom of expression, and has also affected the effectiveness of our mission.
Yet, the Joint African Union COMESA IGAD Election Observation Mission praised calm polling days, party agent access, professional security, and women's or youth roles in staffing. They noted high invalid votes, but also transparent counting where agents watched. After Museveni's declared victory, Ugandan authorities partially restored internet services. So what was Museveni's campaign plank? Museveni promised to take Uganda to high middle-income status by 2031. He positions oil as a key driver for jobs and growth and links expected oil revenues to economic boom. He says Uganda will drill and pump crude oil from Lake Albert wells starting mid-2026. Remember, crude oil sits deep underground in fields like Tilinga, Kingfisher, and Emputa near Lake Albert. Once this oil is extracted, Museveni plans to send it through the East African Crude Oil Pipeline or EACOP to Tanzania's port for sale abroad. This, he says, will create thousands of Ugandan jobs, build infrastructure like roads and factories, and bring $1 to $2.5 billion as revenue to Uganda every year. With oil money, he promises to end poverty, grow the economy fast from 2026, and build a high middle-income Uganda by 2031. But Bobi Wine links oil talks to Museveni's repression. He slams Western backers for ignoring rights abuses while funding such projects. He had promised to review all oil contracts if elected.
As per oil, you know that agreements are even secluded. Even elected leaders cannot access them. Why? Because the country is shrunk into a personal property. We shall study all agreements, and any part in those agreements that does not favor Ugandans will definitely be revised.
So after losing 2 presidential bids, what could be Bobi Wine's political future? Questions hang over it. While optimists think he could thrive as a youth icon by regrouping NUP as Uganda's main opposition force, leveraging youth support for parliamentary gains or local power, skeptics think he could face suppression or irrelevance. Now the question is, who could lead Uganda after Museveni? That remains uncertain. At 81, Museveni shows no retirement plans. While no clear successor exists, there is speculation around Museveni's son, Muhoozi Kainerugaba, who is the army chief of Uganda. Muhoozi's influence is growing. His loyalists have been chosen for key appointments over veterans. Muhoozi had sidelined NRM veterans through 2024 cabinet reshuffles. While Muhoozi did not himself run in the 2026 election, he mobilized his Patriotic League of Uganda or PLU network to deliver Museveni's landslide win. Analysts say his father's declared election victory proved his command over security forces, loyalist deployments, and voter turnout machines. All that is key for any future bid. As Uganda looks ahead, democracy or dynasty remain equally possible. While Uganda's 2026 election has reinforced power within the Museveni family, the country's political future remains an open question. That's all in this edition of Connecting the Dots. We'll see you in the next episode with more raging issues. Until then, it's a goodbye from all of us in the Delhi newsroom. This is Munmun Bhattacharya signing off. Take care and stay safe.